In recent years, there's been a quiet revolution in the world of development. It is now generally accepted that local people must be involved and consulted if projects are to be successful. And in many places, help is now going straight to the people with dramatic results. The word aid means to help or to assist, and development aid is meant to do just that, to use funds from the world's richer communities to help those who are not so fortunate. But the record of development aid over many years shows that it hasn't always reached those it was supposed to help. Part of the problem has been an attitude of big is beautiful, but the large-scale projects that resulted have often proved ineffectual and even damaging. The wishes of the so-called beneficiaries have frequently been ignored, and their wealth of experience and local knowledge has been overlooked. There is now a growing realization that aid works best when local people are treated as partners. A good example of this is a project in Indonesia. The highlands of Western Java, a region of hills and mountains with fertile soils and plentiful rainfall. The conditions are ideal for growing rice and many other crops, and the region is intensively farmed. And yet, for many people, incomes remain low. For this reason, 1,200 villages in Java, some 3 million people, have now been targeted in a unique program called the Village Infrastructure Project, or VIP. In the countryside, many communities remain cut off and inaccessible, especially during the rainy season. Furthermore, they often lack basic hygiene and water facilities. Yet these areas can be very productive, and a variety of local products are made, including palm sugar. Here in Salagadang village, they know the problems all too well. For years, they've had to walk long distances on narrow and slippery paths to reach the main road, which makes their staple products, like bananas, expensive and difficult to market. The threat of more acute problems is always present.
Sedangkan dari kampung-kampung sini sampai jalan protokol sampai 3 kilo, 4 kilo atau 5 kilometer. Kalau udah ada jalan sini, karena kejadian waktu dulu tahun 82 Bu, kejadian penyakit diare, istilah di kampung penyakit kolera gitu Bu. Sampai tidak tertolong Bu, ada 12 orang ya, ada 12 orang yang tidak tertolong mati waktu dipikul itu, digotong. Saya inginkan jalan ini sampai ujung desa Salagadang ini.
In 1995, Salagadang was selected for assistance by the VIP on grounds of poverty, and the villagers decided that they needed an access road. After complying with environmental safeguards, construction started. They're using a well-established and simple technology, large stones which will be filled with smaller rubble and then rolled. The project assists with design and implementation and pays the villagers. It is estimated that the road will more than halve their transport costs. Unusually, the engineer for the road and other infrastructure projects in the area is a woman, Wati Yosriwati. She helped choose the route and ensures that standards of construction are maintained, working closely with the villagers.
Ini yang gede-gedenya dipukul-pukul dulu biar dia masuk. Jadi ya sangat kayaknya masyarakatnya udah dapat ini cukup, udah banyak berterima kasih ya. Terus lagian juga ya padat karya namanya juga. Tapi karena dia emang membutuhkan, ya dia ternyata sedang senang-senang aja dia. Jadi ya jalannya ya lancar, proyeknya juga ya udah.
Various problems have been dealt with along the way. With the owner's agreement, this house is being moved a few meters to make way for the road. Elsewhere, farmers have been compensated for the loss of some land. There's a constant risk of landslides in the region, and this one has buried a half-completed section of the road. A temporary footpath has been made to run over it, and soon the road itself will be dug out from under tons of mud and rocks. The landslide was triggered by heavy rainfall, which has reminded the villagers that their road will need constant maintenance. They meet regularly to discuss this and other issues. Here is perhaps the most significant aspect of the VIP, that decisions are made by the villagers themselves, with the advice of project staff and the village chief, often after a lively debate.
Tapi simkuring salah satu setuju, sebab simkuring gaduh tanah. Misalnya ngan ukur sakit kituna, sedangkan ena ruksak dia mau jalan. Nah, tatangkalanana misalnya anu kange pembayaran itu ieu tina hitan heta, ena diruksak ku jalan. Tas simkuring salah satu setuju. Kumaha tah?
Cenah oge upah ngitung rugi mah rugi. Tapi manfaatna ge kapayun. Contohna ayeuna listrik 400 caang di urang. Baheula mah teu ngimpi-ngimpi ti baheula, teu ngimpi ti tadina. Naon kitu cita-cita ti angalna ka urang bakal datang listrik. Tapi lamun jalan geus aya mobil geus asup listrik kecam, tina harga tanah per meter 1.000, engke mah beuting 10.000.
The road has already had some benefits. Haris Rudayat is setting off for school. The half-completed road runs near where he lives, and the journey now takes him only 30 minutes, half of what it used to be on the traditional, narrow and dangerous paths.
Sempit, lagi jalannya kalau pagi-pagi banyak air yang dari rumput-rumput. Ya saya dengan pembuatan jalan ini saya senang karena sekolah jadi suka gitu. Dan saya kalau ada perintah dari guru saya kalau sudah sekolah harus ke sekolah lagi, saya menurut. Kalau tapi belum dibangun jalan ini saya tidak.
Each month, Wati and the chief of Salagadang come to withdraw money from the bank in town to pay the workers on the village road project. This is another important aspect of the VIP. Not only are decisions made at the community level, but funds are entrusted to the villagers and held in a joint signature account. Villagers choose what needs to be done themselves. Some communities opt to build a road or a bridge, but the village of Chimangu used project funds to build this clean water and latrine installation.
Usulannya ya dari masyarakat ini. Keuntungannya ya mandi udah di sini, cuci di sini, airnya juga air bersih, nggak pakai air kotor kayak begitu, yang merah kayak begitu. Dan kesehatannya juga sekarang udah lumayan. Sebelumnya juga banyak yang dapat penyakit ya Bu ya, di sini.
The road to Salagadang is almost completed, and the villagers have come together to celebrate. The new road is a substantial achievement, and the people who built it believe it will bring very real improvements to the quality of their lives.
Memang banyak Bu untuk harapan-harapan kemajuan masyarakat di desa Selagalang ini, desa kami ini. Di kampung-kampung kan banyak produksi Bu. Pertanian juga banyak Bu. Produksinya dari desa Selagalang ini pada umumnya, pada khususnya di kampung Cimenteng ini Bu. Mungkin kalau udah ada jalan bisa segala lancar Bu, insya Allah.
The VIP shows how effective it can be to give local people a say in development. It is now accepted that if this is done, communities are much more likely to benefit from the funds available.
Experience has shown that projects with development activity are invariably more successful if the local community, the ultimate beneficiaries, are involved both in the design and implementation of that project. In fact, it gives a sense of ownership. It maintains a commitment to the sustainability of that project after the development financiers have left. Thus, if you want a successful project, it's not just enough to have good engineering, to have good economic analysis. You must also involve the local community.
It cannot be that development is ordered by a few people in faraway offices, well-conditioned, air-conditioned rooms, and then carried out at the local level with nothing in between. All levels in societies need to be involved. Now, how to build on existing institutions at the local level? Well, according to their needs and their capacities, which cannot be understood and figured out by me or by you sitting here. I mean, we have to have enough attention and care to figure out what goes on in a particular location, to support their needs and to build on those capacities.
This sense of respect for community needs was the driving force behind an imaginative project to restore the marine environment in the Philippines. The Central Visayas region is an intricate pattern of ocean, reefs and islands. Growing on the margins between land and sea are dense stands of mangroves, trees which have developed the ability to live in salt water. Much of the coastline of the Philippines used to be thick with mangrove trees, but in recent years, large areas have been cut and cleared, often illegally. Many mangroves have been felled to make way for shrimp farms, which produce shellfish for the export market. This is a high input form of aquaculture, which is of little benefit to local fishing families. Some businessmen have constructed fish ponds, but usually these prove to be less productive than the mangrove areas that they replaced and can pollute freshwater supplies.
In many of our coastal communities, many of the mangrove areas had been cut and cleared so that these kinds of high technology ponds could be established. But in many cases, the technology was so high input that the operators abandoned eventually the areas, the fish ponds and the prawn farms. And so we have, in fact, because of this, destroyed our natural ecosystem, the mangrove ecosystem, and then left everything barren.
Fewer mangroves means fewer places for fish to breed and grow, and local fishermen have paid the price in reduced catches. Benjamin Ludovici is fishing with his daughter in the once productive waters of Bohol Island.
Aris katunggan naa ang mga illegal cutting sa mga tao. Tungod sa mga abuso nga pagpangisda o sa mga illegal cutting dis katunggan. Mao na nawa ang mga isda. Nagkalain-laing resources sa atong kadagatan. Mao nga na ipitahan taon may mga gagmayng mananagat. Di na halos may maka palit og bugas tungod sa gagmay na kayo namong kita.
But in the mid-1980s, the Central Visayas Regional Project was initiated to try to restore the coastal environment, and mangrove reforestation was a high priority. Benjamin, like other fishermen selected for the project, was offered training and given planting materials. He was granted rights over his planting area for 25 years and renewable for another 25. Benjamin's family has now planted some 30,000 trees, and already there are benefits, as fish fry and other sea creatures find a haven among the roots of the mature mangroves.
Kay amo manggidasig gamon na pagtanom. Sama panalitan sa iyahang dahon, matagak mo'y makapatambok sa yuta. Ug anha manibsib ang nagkalain-laing mga isda. Ug anha sila mangitlog. Mao nga nadasig mi dihan dapita pagtanom og mga kahoy. Kay daghan kayo kagamitan. Por iso makita po nato karon nga mura og bubintahan na unta og isda. Labi na og ipadayon ni hangtod.
The mangroves have other advantages. The wood grows quickly and can be harvested sustainably. It is used by coastal dwellers to make everything from fences to furniture. It can also be burned as firewood. In working with fishermen like Benjamin, this project has shown that given the right support, local people can be the best protectors of their environment.
The result now is amazing. You can see along the shores of the project sites that mangroves now are very healthy and vigorous. There's no more effort of the government in helping them to protect the area, because the community folks themselves are the ones going there and protecting their own area. So it is very effective program when the community is involved and the community is given the chance to protect and manage the resources, the very fact that they are the de facto managers of their own resources.
Here on Banakan Island, one can see a spectacular demonstration of the effects of replanting mangroves. Iti Pardon is the son of a far-sighted villager who, back in the 1940s, set out to reforest the island. He convinced his fellow islanders of the benefits, and today, the small sandbar is a labyrinth of mangrove avenues. Altogether, there are over 100 hectares of mangroves. In amongst the waterways, the villagers build so-called miracle holes, mounds of rocks in which fish can breed and grow. It's a cheap form of insurance policy that fishermen can call upon in times of need. Banakan is widely recognized as an inspiration for the new interest in mangrove conservation in the region.
Oo, lahi. Tungod kay nakita nako, tungod kay dako dinhi plantasyon sa Kabakawan. Ug nakita nako dinhi nga ang mga lambay, mga isda, nagkadaghan sila.
Banarcon really does seem to get better catches than its neighbours. This is just one of 7 stations on the island where hundreds of kilos of crabs are processed every week, and what they don't need here is exported. Much of the island's economy is now founded on the wealth from the mangroves. Even the seed pods are a saleable item, as other communities catch on to the benefits. The example of this island stands in stark contrast to the destruction of the past and is an inspiration for the future.
We have lots of hope because we have shown in our coastal areas that even 3 years of implementation, you can start to see the results when the communities begin to manage the natural resources. And there are many investors now, not only from outside of the Philippines, but from private investors who are awakening to the fact that when you help communities manage the resources, then we can overcome the destruction that we ourselves had started in the past years. And I guess you can see this all over already. We have started the ball rolling, and people are catching up fast.
Tungod kay nahuna-huna na nila nga ug dili nila usbon ang ilahang panagat unsa may mahitabo sa maabot sama pananglitan ug wa nay makuha ug unsa pa may ilang ipakaon sa ilang sumusunod nga ilan namang gisakdaw ang katungod unta sa sumusunod kay mao manay buton ta nato buhaton ug nakasabot pa ta sa atong pagkakita nga ato yung panangadaman ang atong kaugmaon sa atong mga anak tungod ug alang sa ilang kaugmaon.
The marine environment in the Philippines faces major problems, and if these are to be tackled effectively, it's clear that it must be done with the participation of local communities. Projects work best, it seems, when people want them to work.
Sometimes people ask me, is there no role for the government now? Should it all go to local communities? Not at all. There is a tremendous role for the governmental agencies. However, it is fundamentally changed with respect to before. It's not a role of command and control and direct. It's a role of facilitation and support and a much more intelligent role, because instead of saying, oh, we have it all and we want just to deliver it in the best possible way, the point is to help figuring out what actually has roots, organic roots in society, and to provide often that very intelligent element of matchmaking. I like to call it matchmaking between the needs and the resources available in society. So it's a role in which listening becomes often more important than telling, than just giving the solution.
The role of the state is changing very rapidly. It is not just the issue of the balance between the public and the private sector. It is also that the state as we know it, the national government as we know it, has become both too big and too little. It is too big to deal directly with its citizens as individuals. It seems distant and bureaucratic. And it is too little to cope with the global changes and market forces that govern a globalized economy. Therefore, the central authorities have to redefine their role as enablers, as regulators, as those who create the framework that allows the private sector and community action to flourish. And in that sense, the partnership between the central and the local, between the grassroots and the formal, between the government and the civil society becomes a natural continuation of that concept and allows each to bring their contribution to bring about successful development in an area and a period of very rapid change.